Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach. And I am here with yet another high demand coach. It is the one, the only Joe Rockey. Joe is a serial business creator, a world-class consultant, and an international best-selling author. And he hosts a TV show that airs in 55 million households. Elite Business Conversations, Joe's consulting firm, specializes in honoring the sacrifices of business owners. And his international best-selling book, Casino Sales Master, The Proven System to Beat the Odds in Sales and Life, and the accompanying coaching course teach businesses worldwide to sell correctly. By bringing relationships as an integral portion of the sales system, Joe's clients cut through the omnipresent residue of the 1960s sales method, and he is here with us today. Joe, welcome to the show. I want to kick us off. You've got a pretty big statement that I want to unpack here for our readers, and that is you say that sales will heal the world. Explain that for us. Unpack it a little bit.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So when sales are done correctly, and by correctly, I don't mean the way that, 90% of the population views sales, which is the 1960s method, which is I come on your car lot, I'm going to get you to buy the car I want you to, whether you want it or not, because I want that commission. So most people view salespeople. They're not wrong. It's how most people sell. But when you look at sales when they're done correctly, what you ultimately are going to end up doing is building a connection with someone. And rather than using your prospect or your client, you're going to be giving them something, and they're going to obviously be giving you something in return, typically money, but you're going to be giving them an equal transaction. And then it's a transaction. It's not a zero-sum game. It's a transaction that is a win-win scenario, because not only am I giving you something that when you do the process correctly, is going to fit their benefit needs, but it's actually going to fit the needs and desires of their soul and what they're trying to accomplish, and getting that deep down innards of them. And when you can connect with someone like that, all of these barriers that politicians, especially now that we're in election year, keep spouting out that divide us, ageism, racism, xenophobia, I'm forgetting about the whole list, but you know it when you hear it. It all goes away in capitalism, because it doesn't matter who you are. I want to help you and you're going to help me. And that is the essence, because I want to have an actual connection with you. I don't care the letter next to your name. I don't care who you voted for, where you live, what your accent is, the way you look or taste like. None of that matters. What matters is I have something that I want to help you with. I know it'll help you. And likewise, the return of the payment is going to help, so I can go help the next guy and the next girl and the next company, the next industry, and all of that great stuff. And that is why sales will heal the world in a very broad format.
Yeah. So you've kind of, you mentioned this in your intro, you brought it up here, but compare and contrast for me. First, define the 1960s sales method and why that's not what you're talking about here.
Yes. So I will describe the feeling that everyone has received from being in it, and you'll be able to connect the dots, because I know everyone knows what I'm talking about. If you come out of a situation and you feel icky, like, I didn't like that. I didn't like doing that to the other person. I didn't like receiving that. That's essentially it. Because what the 1960s sales method at the end of the day is identify a target demographic, grab it, attack, pull it in, and then force your will upon them. That's basically what it is in a nutshell. By the way, there's a management version of this as well, which we also teach against. But sticking in the sales lane, that's what it is. It is using someone or forcing someone to get your benefit out of it. And as people, that's one of the most repulsive forms of interaction you're going to have with someone else. So that's why we're so much against it, because it's naturally wrong.
Yeah. Now we're 60 years on from the 1960s, this recording. Why do you think it's still so prevalent?
Well, a lot of reasons. First and foremost, because most people don't question anything anymore, or maybe they never have. This is the way it always was, so we're doing it this way. I mean, we can see this when we're employees of other places. Like, why are we still doing this? Because it's the way it's always done. Because there's the other problem. It kind of works, and people are conditioned to have it work. So therefore, we're going to keep doing it, because it's not the greatest way, but I pay salespeople so much commission, they can get a backbone to take a shower and get that ick off them. It's their problem. And they're getting paid enough to get over it. That is the essence of why it still exists. The two reasons: people are not exposed to a better way of doing it. And the other part is there are some results that come from it. Not the way you should do it, but there are results.
So one of the places I feel like we see this tension the most, right, is actually in the healthcare industry, where they're dealing the physical work of healing, right? Because there's this, I can tell you anything's wrong and you kind of have to believe me because I'm the doctor, right? So there's a bit of agency in it. And so you have kind of two equal but maybe opposite extremes, which is the almost starving artist version of the doctor, of like, I just do whatever they ask for. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be seen as salesy. Or you have the like tycoon doctor who has the system and plugs everybody through it. And it's like, we don't know if it's right for everybody, but it works enough that we feel fine with it. How would you help someone in a profession like that who again doesn't want to be salesy, but does want to grow their practice and help more people?
Yeah, so the first part is you don't need to be salesy at all. And doctors actually have the benefit if they choose to use it. Your tycoon version is not, which is we're going to have conversations about what's real and meaningful. To kind of bridge the gap between your last question and this one, if I can take a second to do that. All the buyers got used to, they're going to just use me, so I want to figure out how to avoid that. So this is why your entire life, you were taught when you were growing up, you're not supposed to lie to adults. You're always supposed to tell the truth, with one glaring exception. Mommy always lies to salespeople. Why are you here on this car lot? Oh, I'm not looking to buy. Oh, so you just like walking around asphalt parking lots in August? Like that's your jam? Like, for real. But we all know we're supposed to lie to salespeople. This was the defense consumers made to avoid having to deal with being used. So what happened? At some point, the internet and catalogs took off. So then it all became about features and benefits. Zero emotion involved in those, but at least it's neutral. So I'm not getting used. I get an idea of what I'm getting. And people think that that's the direction sales should be going on. It's absolutely not. It's better than the 60s, but it's not. What the real connection is, and this is what your doctors can do to have the connection, is get into the essence of their ocean of emotion. What is actually going on in this person? Because there are some people out there that hear the word opioid and they're like, yay, that'll be awesome. And then there's another group of people that absolutely don't want to do it. And they will refuse, kick and nail, and never do it. So you got to get into why they feel the way they is and what it is that they want to accomplish. Because let's face it, if you have a knee replacement and you're 68 years old, there's a different set of requests than if you're 15 and you think you're going to make LSU at starting wide receiver. Like, there's a very different needs there. So it goes beyond having the conversation of just, this is the type of product we're going to use to solve the solution, but actually getting into the essence of, why do you feel this way? What is it that you want to truly accomplish? And get to know your client, your prospect, on a personal level, rather than just another, I can plug them into my tycoon system. I'm going to get these 3 prescriptions. I'm going to get paid this much from Pfizer. Okay, that's a business model. That's a very 1960s business model because it doesn't care about your clients. Getting to know that relationship is all the power. And as you mentioned, the people who have these more powerful agency starting spots, doctors, financial advisors, attorneys, you're in a spot where it's even easier to dive into those emotions. And that is where the true essence of sales is. It's why sales will heal the world. I get to know what's going on with you, and I get to care about you, and then I get to give you the perfect solution. Now, granted, is my perfect solution always going to work? No, we make mistakes for people. But what it is this connection. I know this is you. I know you more than, quite frankly, any other doctor would know you. And that's how this works. And then that's not a salesy situation. Yeah, you're going to be giving them a product and getting paid for it, but I just built a relationship with you. I want to be able to make sure that you're happy with it and I take care of it. So that is, again, the third tier of the evolution of sales, but it's how it should be done in a very condensed version. Cutting down a 20-hour sales course into one conversation is rough, but That would be a very condensed version of it.
No, and you're right. Like the people, and I hope, because I've experienced this, but I hope that most people have at least had this at some point, right? While the 60s method might be more common still, unfortunately, I there have been calls that's like, I didn't even know I was in a sales conversation, and I got what I needed. And it worked out really, really well. As I'm listening to you, I'm hearing some people, they're sitting there thinking, well, like, we sell culverts to government agencies, where's the emotional connection in that? What would you say to someone who's in a less emotional environment, who's trying to achieve what you're talking about here?
Sure. So I would have brought it to all B2B transactions, because in general, they don't really feel sexy, because the procurement officer on the other side normally isn't the one who even uses our stuff, but they are the one who's responsible for acquiring it. So how do we actually get into there? And this is, like I said, it's all about the relationships. We find out what is the relationship that's driving that procurement officer. Because a lot of places, whether it's ever admitted or not, they keep buying from the exact same person over and over again, whether it's the best material for their company or not. Well, let's kind of dive into why. Let's get into some conversations. Typically, you find a couple of very similar stories, maybe said different ways. Either A, they already have a relationship with this person and they don't want to risk messing up their own internal system. Because this is all going to come back to the personal reputation of the procurement officer. If it's as simple as, I don't want to get yelled at, so I'm doing the same old, that's as natural as people are. Well, you got to figure out how to break through that. Then there's the, well, my boss likes this person, so I'm stuck with them. And I don't want to lose my ability to get promoted.
Yeah.
And this is all diving into that and go, well, how can we better you as an individual? Stop looking this as the iron that I'm selling to the coal company or to the steel company, but it's rather you as the individual procurement officer. How can I make your life better? Find out what is going on with them as an individual, not as the U.S. steel conglomerate, but as the individual, and say, hey, let's actually get there, because promotions are fun and sexy and they're personal. The iron ore isn't. It's just dirty and stuff in the ground. But at the end of the day, this is true for every single business-to-business transaction. Now, granted, the parameters might be a little bit different, and they might have bureaucracies in place to make it not look like this is happening. Like you have to go get 3 quotes before you select someone. But at the end of the day, this tends to be the results of, because it's human nature. If I don't have to spend time thinking about this supplier, I can go do something else. Even if my job description is 40 hours a week of just figuring out the procurer, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I got to mentally check out. There's a lot of people in this country that just want to mentally check out because we don't normally get a chance to. So being able to break through that, actually make a connection with that procurement officer, was a very long example, but that's how it is to answer your question, even if you're not selling something that's sexy.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. And it's so easy to forget in both situations that we're selling to a person, right? Mm-hmm. We might be selling to a procurement officer or to a client. Both of those words, while they're accurate, they depersonify the human on the other side of the equation. And I think it's just a great reminder and a great approach, right? And just how we can do it across both B2B and B2C environments. So there's this question, Joe, that I like to ask all my guests, and it is this. What is the biggest secret you wish just wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing that you wish everybody watching or listening today knew?
Well, the first is that every single person can sell and you can do it right. And I'm actually going to hit off some of the last statement you just said there, because you kind of nailed the starting point of how it is. We put people into groups, demographic groups, so that we can do marketing campaigns, because it's easier to do an email list or whatever, but it depersonalizes everyone. And if you truly have a product that solves a problem, it shouldn't matter what the other person's age group, income level, education level is, etc. None of that crap matters. If you look at the list of my clients and what they have in common, because we did this exercise one day, they speak English and they want their company to live after them. That's a pretty broad spectrum. Industry-wise, all over the board. Age-wise, income-wise, all over the board. But that's a commonality. But go tell a marketing person, hey, I want you to do an email list with people that want to have their business left in speak English. They'll look at you like you're crazy. Because the way that this all starts from the way that you identify your prospect in the first place. Do I want to do a mass canvas, or do I want to get more zoned in and specific? Now, granted, that's a good question. The problem is that everyone does it through the demographic ways because it's easier to do that. It's always been easier to do that. Rather than just saying, hey, we're different. We actually care about you and get to know you. I can't do that across a mass email campaign, across a JPEG in a Facebook ad or anything of that nature. But what I can do is tell you, we're here. We stand out. We're a little bit different. We do things differently. And let's just have a chat to see if we're a good fit. So when you look at that and say, wow, it's completely different. Your mindset as a company and a marketing and a sales force completely changes. We're no longer looking for a herd of wildebeest to see if we can snag one of the slower ones to make our clients. Now we're the place you should come to when you want to be saved. Effectively, instead of being the lion, we're the watering hole in this scenario. And when you do sales correctly, that's what you become and that's what you are. A place where people want to be, a place where they get the answers that they want and they grow themselves successfully. And each and every person on this planet has the ability because you were born with them. Sure, some of those skill sets get brushed aside through the way we do education in the Western world, but we can teach you and how to have you do them successfully. And there is no better pathway anywhere within the world of capitalism where you can create your own freedom, both in terms of time and economic dollars and cents wealth, than the sales industry. Because the sales industry is needed by every other industry. So that's a very long answer, but that's why sales will heal the world. And that's why I believe so firmly in it. We're going to make a better place by changing, instead of the herd mentality and just grabbing one and hoping we get it, actually giving, caring at the end of the day is what you're giving your solution.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I know you've won some hearts and minds with what you shared today. I know that it's resonating with some of our audience. How can they reach out to you? How can they find out more about the work that you guys do?
So if you're looking to grow in your own personal sales life, Sales Career Casino Sales Master, both the book and the coaching course, you can find us right there. We'll be able to teach you there. And if you're a company that is looking to have the business operate and run without you, that's what we do at Elite Business Conversations, my consultancy firm. So it's Casino Sales Master at Elite Business Conversations. Type either in Google and you'll find us real quick.
Fantastic. We'll get the links to both those in the show notes. Joe, I appreciate you being on. Appreciate the work that you do, the approach that you take. Thank you so much. And for those of you watching and listening today, you know that your time and attention mean the world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.